Hello, everyone. Welcome to Optimum Ed Live. I'm Tom Leahy here with my colleague Candace Suarez and our special guest, Wendy Pickenpaugh, with Brain Balance. We are always looking for great resources and strategic partners for the young people that we work with. And we met with Wendy a couple 3 weeks ago, and it just was such a great meeting, and it seems like the relationship is something that was meant to be. So we wanted to get Wendy on to talk more about what Brain Balance does and how they can step in and help young people who are trying to find a way forward. So Wendy, thanks for being here. What is Brain Balance?
Awesome. Yeah. Tom, Candace, thank you so much for having me. I appreciated getting to meet you guys as well a couple weeks ago. And I'm excited to be here today. So Brain Balance is really a holistic and integrative approach to understanding, not only understanding, but also overcoming social, behavioral, academic obstacles for students. We work primarily with students ages 4 to 18, meeting them most importantly where they are developmentally, and then creating personalized growth plans, which include sensory motor exercises, cognitive activities, as well as lifestyle recommendations. So while Brain Balance is holistic, that means that we do not prescribe medication, we do not diagnose, we do not label, but we actually create and develop connections in the brain naturally to create sustainable breakthroughs for our students.
Great. Yeah, I know when we had our tour, I was amazed at all the different things that you do to help make that balance, right? Help raise them up to where they need to be to function, adequately and academically, socially, emotionally, as you were saying. So maybe go into a little bit of some of your programming, because I was amazed at your variety.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, where we work with kids who are kind of all over the place, age-wise, developmental-wise, concerns and goals-wise. And really the whole process starts within evaluation, where we're really looking to see, chronologically that child may be 8, but developmentally and neurologically, they may be functioning more like a 4, 6, 7-year-old, maybe even younger. So the first process is having the students go through this evaluation that really measures lots of different areas of function. So we're looking at their auditory processing, their visual processing, their motor planning, timing, rhythm, coordination. We're also measuring primitive reflexes. We're really getting an overall idea of how that child is functioning and where they are developmentally. After that point, what we do is we really create a personalized plan, like I said before, as far as just different sensory motor exercises, different cognitive activities. And the way that our center is designed and laid out is it's kind of like circuit training for the brain. So it's a really fun environment for kids. It does not feel like they're doing any hard work. It really feels like fun. But in order to reach some of these goals that these kids come to us for, you really have to activate different parts of the body to help grow different parts of the brain. So like Candace, you had asked, there's different stations. Some activate core muscles, some increase body awareness, balance, equilibrium, because that really helps with our social and emotional awareness. There's different stations that kind of work on that visual and auditory system. For most of our students who struggle academically, socially, even behaviorally, your auditory and your visual systems play a huge role in either helping or hindering you to be successful in those areas. So our students work mostly one-on-one or one-on-two with a coach, a cognitive coach, to really kind of guide them through their individualized plan. And the goal overall is to get a child who's functioning developmentally behind their age to functioning at their chronological age. So like I said, if we have an 8-year-old child who, has all the stereotypical signs and symptoms of ADHD, or we have a 15-year-old boy who has all the signs and symptoms of the stereotypical, child with dyslexia or dysgraphia or low motivation, right? Developmentally, they may not be functioning that way, but Brain Balance actually helps them to function at their age level, so that way they can grow and thrive and really learn.
Right. Yeah, and I love because the approach is not, okay, so you're terrible at this, so we're going to make you sit here and do more of what you're terrible at. They don't realize that what they're doing. Yeah.
What's so interesting is we see a lot of kids who struggle learning in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's a high school student who's they have a hard time taking notes quick enough, or they have a hard enough time reading massive amounts of information in the time frame that they're given. In order to help with that, you can't just read more. You can't just write more. You actually have to get to the root of why reading and writing is hard and why it takes more time. So that's part of the process of we really evaluate where is this challenge or obstacle starting from, and really connecting and growing that area of the brain so that those things just naturally become easier. We always say a connected brain is a teachable brain. If your brain is connected and those connections are strong, then you can teach and learn pretty much anything you put your mind to.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times these circumstances come hand in hand with anxiety or clinical depression just because of the circumstances. How does Brain Balance identify and handle those kind of circumstances where it's beyond what maybe you can fix, or is fixing what you fix going to help with the anxiety and depression? What comes first?
That's a great question. And it really just depends on the situation and the scenario. I would say we work with a lot of students more now with anxiety and depression after COVID. So that's a very situational thing where the situation and the circumstances that we were all put in generates the anxiety, the depression, just based on our lifestyle shift and change and based on the stress in our environment. So I would say, in some situations, the anxiety, the depression comes from that root cause developmentally, or those primitive reflexes not being fully integrated. But also in some situations, it really just comes from trauma. So to answer your question, Tom, it's a little bit of a combination of both, I would say, for some students. First and foremost, really addressing the root of why that anxiety is there, but then also referring out to, we work with counselors and therapists as well, to work through some of those more traumatic things that students have gone through while yes, we can change the connections in the brain, sometimes that child or that student really does need to speak to someone to kind of work through that. But the benefit of Brain Balance working alongside of those practices is that, like I said, a connected brain is a teachable brain. So if we have a student that really needs some sort of trauma therapy or something like that, getting that brain more connected and more developed helps that child or that student only benefit from that therapy even more.
Yeah, they can be more engaged in it and get more out of it that way. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what's important, is to understand that you are not trying to operate solely, but you're looking for what exactly is going on, and you make those referrals as you see necessary.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and we see a lot of things. I mean, in terms of the anxiety and the depression, a lot of times that comes from how and what we're doing with our time. So, specifically with teenagers, we see a lot of teenagers who struggle with that anxiety or depression. And when we make that lifestyle shift from being on their phones or on social media, 10 out of 24 hours a day, you see that mood and that endurance and that just overall confidence and self-esteem dramatically improve. So that's another piece of our program where not only do we create and strengthen those connections in the brain, but we also change our students' lifestyles by educating our students' parents, by educating, if our students are older, by educating them themselves on how to lead a productive, efficient, quality life that enables them to grow and to really be who they were designed to be. Screen time is a huge issue, right, in our culture and our community. And it really, research shows it breeds anxiety, it breeds depression just by its nature.
Well, and that rewires the brain.
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
So how does a parent know it's time to come see you? How do they, how does a parent determine, or maybe they're not sure, can they come and have some evaluation or something
100%. Yes. So we do free consultations, so if you are concerned about your child in one way, shape, or another, every child, this is the thing, every child has strengths, every child has weaknesses, right? So if you're that mom or that dad that's like, they're on track in every way, shape, or form, but this one little tiny thing I want to change, brain balance might not be the place for you, but we also might, it really depends on what we find in the evaluation that may be impacting that child in that area. But I would just say if there's some concern that you have, or that gut feeling as a parent where you're like, okay, something is not right, or my child's not reaching their full potential in this area, this area of their life seems exponentially harder than it should for their age, then I would encourage you to check out Brain Balance, because it's a really cool process that you go through where you actually figure out how your child's brain is functioning on a very detailed level. And then, we're very different in that, we're not going to give you that information and say, good luck, this is your kid, genetics, this is how they are. It's, this is how they are now. This is how they're functioning at this point. But we have a plan to increase this functionality, to develop those connections so that you can see growth in this area. So everything that we measure in Brain Balance, we know, and we have research to show that we can change and improve at a very fast rate.
So this kind of, leads me to the question of why just youth? Why are we not doing this kind of thing for people like me? Older people as they get old, and can the things you do help one retain memory or cognitive ability, or is it too late by the time you get to a certain age?
So the brain can change no matter how old you are. Really, the entire program is based on, the concept of neuroplasticity, right? Neurons that fire together, wire together, so at any age or stage of life, those connections can change and can improve. To answer your question, Brain Balance actually does have an adult program. It's all virtual based. So we don't see adults in our center physically. We see them virtually. So they go through a similar process where there's an initial consultation just to kind of understand what those concerns are, what that person's goals are. And then similarly, they go through a process and a program that activates different parts of the body and different parts of the brain to really grow those neural connections, and ultimately help that adult become more successful and more focused. Most of our experience working with adults right now is kind of in that middle range of adulthood. So anywhere from about 25 to about 45, 50. And I would say, the adult program has been around for about a year or so it's fairly new, but Brain Balance knows, okay, if we can impact and change how students and children are learning and growing, then we can do the same for adults as well.
Oh,
I feel like adult ADHD is something that more people are talking about now. It's becoming more recognized as an issue.
Right. Absolutely.
And there is help for me.
Yeah. Yes, there is. But that goes back to kind of what we were talking about a few minutes ago, as far as our environment, like and I get very passionate when I talk about this, because there's been such a shift over the last 15, 20 years, really, in terms of technology and instant gratification in our culture. If we want to know anything at any given moment, we Google, right? So, and instantly, in a matter of seconds, an answer pops up to our question. So what that actually does to the brain is it conditions us to need something, want something, and expect to get it right away. So it really trains and it really activates the part of the brain that inhibits your long-term sustained attention and focus. So that's why it's very hard for you. You will see college students right now where they may be dropping out, they may be struggling because they have to use that long-term sustained attention and focus. And for years, they've been conditioned to get what they want when they want in that moment. So
that muscle is atrophied.
Right. Yeah. And it's the same for adults. We have been conditioned to to not grow our focus, but really reduce it.
Yeah. All great stuff, Wendy. Thank you so much. How do people get in touch with you?
Great question. Yeah. You can always visit our website, brainbalance.com. Like I said, we are the Midlothian location, and you can always email us, midlothian@brainbalancecenters.com, as well as we text, call if you're interested in just an initial consultation to see, is this something that would be right for our family, right for my student, my child? Like I said, we work with kids ages 4 to 18. So I know many of the students that work with Tom and Candace, they're in that middle school or later middle school, high school age. We have many students that we work with kind of in that age range as well. And we'd love to support you. So definitely reach out to me. I'd love to help.
Great. And if y'all didn't get that, you can get to Wendy through Optimum Ed as well. We can connect you, OptimumEdCenter.com, or you can call 804-417-4807, our office, and we will make that connection. Wendy, thanks so much again for telling us about Brain Balance. What a great service. We look forward to our continued relationship. Have a great day.
Awesome. Thank you.